So Sushant, thank you very much for the last session, and I think a lot of people appreciated that, and a lot of queries were raised. And looking at all that, something which was really pending and people are looking forward to is uh, cholesterol. It's a big problem globally in India, and I understand that there's a science behind this whole thing and how uh, we at Gene Fertiletics, can address it. I'm very keen to hear from you today.
Sure, sir. So thanks for the last call. I really, like speaking with you and sharing, how our body works and why we are going wrong. And this is an interesting topic if we talk of cholesterol, right? And we have been thinking that cholesterol is our enemy, right? And most of the interventions when it come to LDL, high LDL level, or what we call as bad cholesterol, what is referred as bad cholesterol is let's take drugs and suppress it, right? Whether it
Yeah.
is statin or immune suppressants or whatever drugs we take, we try to suppress it, right? And it has its own repercussions. But before we get into that, probably for the benefit of everyone who will be viewing this video, probably let us go back and why cholesterol, what role it plays in our body, why we are where we are going wrong, right? So
Yeah.
if you see, cholesterol is one of the most essential, steroid hormones required in our body, right? Because essentially, it is a part of our cell membrane. So we have 30 trillion cells inside our body, right? So without this, our brain cannot function. Cholesterol is used for production of bile acid. Again, bile acid is required for your energy metabolism, lipid metabolism, glucose metabolism, right? So, and then also vitamin D, which is again, an essential part of, where the deficiency of vitamin D is connected with virtually all chronic diseases, even cancer, right? So essentially, cholesterol has a very important role to play in our body, right? Right from metabolic to mental health to cancer and everything, right? And we have been trying to say that okay, this is bad, this is good. So there's nothing called as good and bad, right? So this may
Mm.
surprise a lot of people, but LDL is not that bad cholesterol, right? So let us understand that how this cholesterol functions, right? And most of the
Mm.
if we have a high cholesterol, people will say, okay, stop eating animal fat and protein. Doctor will say, don't eat chicken, don't eat egg, don't eat fish. Stop eating fatty things, and right? So to some extent, fatty things are right. It raises the cholesterol, but
Mm.
it will surprise everyone to know that in our body, of the total influx of the cholesterol, only one
Mm.
third comes from the food we eat, right? Two
At
third is
best, two-thirds.
two third is produced inside our body, right? And
Absolutely.
and liver along with the intestine actually manages the entire influx and efflux of
Mm.
cholesterol. So it is all about input versus output, right? So essentially, what liver does is it packages cholesterol with triglycerides, right, which is again a fat, right, and it packages into a VLDL, which is called very low density lipoprotein, right?
Yeah.
It's secreted in the blood. So this VLDL gets converted into LDL, what we say is bad, right?
Bad.
Low density lipoprotein, and it goes into peripheral tissues for
Mm.
tissues and cells to function, right? And this LDL has a specific gene which, when rightly expressed, right, plays a key
Mm.
role in transporting this cholesterol from cells to liver, right? This is what we
Okay.
call as reverse cholesterol transport process, right? And
Okay.
this
Mm.
particular gene expresses a protein which does this, that, and during this process, this entire cholesterol gets converted into HDL, which is high density lipoprotein, right? Which we call as good cholesterol, right?
Good
And this
cholesterol.
HDL again, in liver, it gets converted into bile acid. It is used for production of various hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, right? Even vitamin
Mm.
D, right? So essentially, they all have a role to play, right? So it is not that LDL is bad, right? So
Mm.
essentially, LDL is the one has carries that gene which expresses a protein which actually converts LDL into HDL. So here where we are going wrong, right?
So
So yeah.
two more important points I think which you have raised here, and which I think a lot of our audience would uh, should know this. So one you are saying is that only one-third of cholesterol is coming from the diet which we are taking. Two-third is being generated in the body. That's point number one, which you are saying. And the point number two, which you are saying is LDL necessarily is not bad cholesterol. Eventually it helps in generation of HDL.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so now why we are having this cholesterol issue, why we are having excess, what we call is TC, total cholesterol, and high LDL is level, right? Again, here comes the role of the most important organ inside the body, that is gut microbiome, right? So gut microbiome, as discussed in the last talk, that gut plays a major role in our host metabolism, right? Our human body's metabolism, as well as in adaptive and innate immunity, right? So immune cells, again, 70% immune cells are in gut lining. So essentially what happens is that because of your diet, because of your lifestyle factors, stress, a lot of things, there is a gut dysbiosis, right? So when it is a gut dysbiosis, it means there is an imbalance. Some bacteria are more present, some bacteria are less present. It can be good bacteria, it can be bad bacteria, right? It all depends upon the composition. So as a result of the bacterial metabolism of various foods, right? So we have these bacteria releases certain metabolites, or for the benefit of everyone, it is like a byproducts or poop of these bacteria, right? So it can be pro-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. So let us dig into this detail, right? So essentially there's an endotoxin, what we call as lipopolysaccharides. Again, it is a very harmful thing, when we are eating something bad. So it is not about having animal protein, and it can also be having some sort of, even wheat can trigger, even pulses can trigger. So when we have high level of LPS, what it does, it increases the VLDL and LDL production, right? And it suppresses this clearance of LDL into HDL, right? So essentially there's an imbalance between LDL and HDL, and that's why we call it is called bad cholesterol, because the root cause is this endotoxin is doing that act, right? So essentially, if you have a high lipopolysaccharides production, it is going to make sure that reverse cholesterol transport process is suppressed, right? So that's why you have a low HDL and LDL level. It has nothing to do with eating chicken or fish or meat, right? So there are a lot of plant-based food also which is high in choline and a lot of these stuff which actually triggers LPS, right? So similarly, we have another metabolite, what we'll call is trimethylmalonyl oxide, TMAO, right? Again, we know that choline is really important for our brain functioning, right? And that's why we consume a lot of animal protein and a lot of protein foods and protein shakes, a lot of things, because a lot of these things have choline, right? But what it does is an excess production of TMA, right, which is by gut. It goes through the liver and it is absorbed in liver. It is released into converted into TMAO, right? And this TMAO, what it does, it actually starts suppressing your reverse cholesterol transport process. So again, from LDL to HDL, which is a reverse cholesterol transport process, it suppresses. So you don't get vitamin D, you don't get bile acid, your energy metabolism goes for a toss, your lipid metabolism goes for a toss, and then you would have heart issues, you would have obesity, you would have type 2 diabetes, all these things happen.
These are all interlinked. You are
correct. Again, so these are two metabolites which are really harmful, right? Second thing is there's another essential, like we discussed last time, there's production of short chain fatty acids, right? What we call is essentially is bitrate. Bitrate is like, it is a molecule produced by our gut when they consume a lot of, fiber and pectin, and all these inulin and all these, oligosaccharides, which are really beneficial for our body. So what it does is it increases the bile secretion. It balances the LDL, HDL. It produces more of HDL less than LDL, right? So it regulates the transport process and makes sure that, your liver is getting the right kind of HDL to actually produce your bile acid, right? So this regulates this. So that's why we are told, if you have high cholesterol, eat oats, eat spinach, right? That is the reason, that's why, because it is not that they reduces the cholesterol. Nobody reduces the cholesterol, because once you reduces the cholesterol, if you're suppressing cholesterol, like probably I'll discuss in later stage about the drugs also, right? So when you suppresses the cholesterol, it blocks the enzyme that produces cholesterol, right? And it blocks it also. This enzyme also produces a coenzyme which we call as CoQ10. right?
Mm.
And this
Yeah.
CoQ10 is responsible for regulating our energy and ATP cycle, right? So once if you're suppressing cholesterol, probably you will start having fatigue and headache and migraine and lot of stuff, right? So you will have multiple issues, right? So essentially what we need to do is we need to regulate the entire process involved in the production, synthesis, and usage of the cholesterol inside our body, right? So that's why Biotrade plays a very important role in making sure that there's a balancing act, right?
So coming to the point now, how do we then have the right kind of balance of all these things, so that everything goes in a healthy fashion, and so that is something I think everyone would be
Sure.
looking forward to, right?
So let me share a couple of more points, right? And I'll get to it, right? What we really need to do, right? So essentially, we all know that, so what have bile acid again, when we're talking of bile acid is again, converted into from cholesterol to bile acid by liver, right? And this bile acid goes into gallbladder. So how it works is, when you're eating fats, healthy fats or bad fats, whatever you eat, your gallbladder releases bile acid. Bile acid goes to small intestine. It does the act, right? It metabolizes fat and then it comes back, right? So that's how a bile acid works, right? But there are some sort of unabsorbed bile acid for 5%, right? Goes to our colon, goes to our large intestine, right? From there, it gets converted into bile salts and it goes out of feces. And similar, the loss of this bile acid is again compensated by reproduction into the liver, right? But if this activity is really excessive, again microbiome comes into role. So if they are producing too much of bile acid, it goes back to your liver and it increases your cholesterol level. Again, regulating. So overactivity of bile acid can actually be harmful. Similarly, we say a lot of protein, right? And one of the essential amino acids is tryptophan, right? The most common food is eggs, right? Eggs is very high in tryptophan, right? Again, 90% of the tryptophan is converted into different pathways, which is actually metabolized in small intestine and then by liver, right? The balance 10% gets converted into a pathway, what we call as the indole pathway, right? And again, broken down in two parts. One is we call as IPA, indole propionic acid, right? Which actually promotes your cholesterol reverse transport process, right? So it makes sure that SDL is going, the SDL is higher than LDL, right? And the other part is indoxyl sulfate, right? Which is a toxin, right? So it suppresses your reverse cholesterol transport process, right? And it changes the ratio of LDL and HDL, right? So essentially you have more of LDL, and that's why your blood work will show a lot of LDL, high LDL, right? And just for the information of it, this indoxyl sulfate is also linked to the development of chronic kidney disease. Right?
Okay.
So these are the few things. These are few metabolites which microbiome releases, which directly impacts the cholesterol metabolism, right? So again, most of the people, and again, the thing is, if you are consuming a lot of, let's assume you are consuming too much of animal protein and fat, and there is an excess cholesterol being developed inside your body, or maybe there's some dysregulation in your function. So what happens is you have an excess cholesterol. So here again the role of microbiome comes, because a lot of microbiota actually converts this excess cholesterol into another product, what is called as corpuscular, right? And this is actually, if you have that bacteria inside your gut, they can convert that, and this goes through feces, right? So again, it is about input versus output, right? So input is food and the de novo synthesis inside the body, and output is again bile acid and vitamin D and steroid hormones and all that thing, right? And so it's all about balance, right? So when we say we are taking statins, if you say, okay, I went for my blood work, my LDL is very high, my SDL is low, my doctor tells me take statin, or stop eating chicken and eggs, and or maybe start eating oats. To some extent he's right, start taking oats, start taking fiber, right? But what statin does is, statin, as I discussed, it suppresses your enzyme and it leads to fatigue. So ask anyone who is suffering from an high cholesterol or high triglycerides, or even have a high risk of heart diseases, right? They would have fatigue. They would have So essentially what we need to do is we need to understand each and every biological function, how it is happening inside the body, how these microbes are interacting with the food we are eating, with our body's metabolism, right? And we should know which specific food, right, can actually trigger increase in TMA or LPS or disaggregated bile acid, or which specific food can promote bitrate production, right? So again, it is not about only about chicken and fish, right? So even foods such as kidney beans and lentils, right? These all can trigger increase in TMA, right? And we don't know. So I've seen a lot of our customers who have disaggregated cholesterol metabolism. They say, "Oh, I am vegetarian, right? I come from South India. I'm vegetarian. I don't eat chicken. I don't eat fish, right? I don't take a lot of fatty stuff, right? So essentially, why am I have a high LDL, right? They don't understand. Doctors say, I don't know, right? So I only know I can give you the symptom. I can just give you this drug, right? We can suppress the cholesterol levels, right? So that can be a lot of different flows which can trigger. It can be even pulses which can trigger, right? It can be eggs, it can be chicken, right? So we need to understand what specific food, how it is being metabolized inside the body by your microbiome, and what they convert into, right? And these byproducts, how it impacts our physiology. That is what we really need to know, right?
Yeah. And Sushant, one question I think which will be top of mind for a lot of people now, youngsters in particular, they go to gym and they are having all these, protein supplements. You have seen, celebrities like Siddharth, and last week there was another guy, he was a very famous film actor. Collapsing in the gym. So what do you think is this whole protein supplement intake?
Okay, so I'll tell you what. So let us go back. What happens is that this never happened maybe 40, 50 years back or 30 years back, right? So essentially, gym culture evolved over last 10, 15 years when we started having a lot of chronic disease issues, and obesity is the major one. So people think, okay, I'm gaining weight, I'm becoming obese, so I think I'm taking too much of sugar, I'm taking too much of carbohydrates, right? Yeah, sugar is harmful. Sugar creates inflammation, right? But carbohydrates are not bad, right? So essentially, when we are replacing our carbohydrates with protein, we are going a natural way. So when your body doesn't have glycogen, so probably if you think that, okay, I don't have glycogen, I don't have glucose, so I will not store fat, right? So essentially, I will not gain weight and I'll eat protein. It will build my muscles and I have a rock solid body and all that. This is general. But what happens is, so let's break down into two things. One is the protein-rich foods, right? And one is the supplements, right? So again, protein-rich foods can be, non-veg. It can be pulses, right? It can be a lot of vegetables also have amino acids, so and for instance, sulfur containing amino acids, again, it can trigger a lot of digestive issues. So essentially, when we are eating that, we need protein for a lot of cellular molecular function inside our body, right? And that is fine. We need, right? But point is, when you start eating excess, so it is very simple, small intestine say, oh, I need only this much today because my body is dynamic. I know what I need at right now, right? So let us go to large intestine. I'm not interested, right? And large intestine folks, oh, I don't know what protein is. So let's start fermenting it, right? When they start fermenting, they start leaving harmful gases like methane and hydrogen sulfide and protein and a lot of things. So why methane? So a lot of proteins are high in methionine, right? So these bacteria convert methionine into methane, or sulfur, as I mentioned, so it convert into sulfide gas production, right? And these start leading to inflammation inside your body, right? So essentially, in terms of that what happens is when you are releasing a lot of gases, it tells immune system that something is bad, right? Gut tells the immune system, oh, I have released something bad, please do something, and immune system start doing inflammation, right? To kill those. And then when you have inflammation, you have a lot of symptoms. You have bloating, constipation, abdominal pain, and all of these things, right? So essentially, excess protein may be good for someone, may not be, right? You cannot apply a general rule that this is good for me, right? Oh, my gym buddy took this and he had built a lot of weight. He has 6%, 7% body fat. I don't have, so let me also do that, right? and this is the biggest flaw, right? So essentially, for me, protein is going to be the biggest drug after sugar, right? Because we need protein only to the extent what we need. For instance, when I take a lot of protein, my body doesn't want too much protein. So I have digestive issue. I eat a lot of carbohydrates. 60% of my diet is carbs, but I don't gain weight because that's how my biology is, right? So it's big for everyone. Similarly, if you go to now comes to supplement parts, right? So what is the issue with supplements, right? So first of all, we don't know what they are putting. Okay, whey casein is a part of milk, right? So obviously, is a byproduct of milk which gets into your supplement. Again, there are a lot of other things which are added, like stevia is added, right? Artificial sweeteners are added, right? Some sort of metals are also added in the entire, process of production of these protein powders, right? So essentially, they load with a lot of metals like fluoride and a lot of these things which are actually bad, which triggers inflammation, right? And we don't understand because these things we think, oh, this is normal, thoda sa protein khaya to ho gaya, it's a normal thing, thoda sa bloating ho gaya, it's fine, and I'm fine, I'm gaining weight and I'm losing weight, and I'm sorry, I'm gaining muscle and losing weight, I'm fine, right? So there is a circulatory inflammation, because inflammation is not bad, but when you're constantly eating this bad stuff, right, your immune system is constantly doing inflammation, what we call as low grade chronic inflammation, right? So
I think what you are saying is also in line with, me as a biotechnologist, always keep saying that life is all about balancing, and, don't put unnatural stuff, just for the sake of it, or, copying somebody. You have to have the right approach, which is body specific, and it's all about balancing. It's anything excess, and you are there for.
It's about balance. It's about knowing what you should eat in what quantity at that particular point in time, because your body physiology changes. So food which is good for me right now may not be good after 15 days or 20 days or even 1 month, right? Or even 3 months. So essentially now coming on to, I think a lot of people have been talking about why people are dying of gym, and some people will say, okay, don't compare this, how many people are dying of cardio, diabetes, CVD and cancer and all that. So let us dig into this more, right? So essentially what happens is when your body is doing exercise or some sort of stress, either physical stress or mental stress, there's a lot of, free radicals which are produced inside your body, right? What we call is, it creates oxidative stress, right? And our body is dynamic, so probably, they actually can neutralize these free radicals. For that to happen, there is an, exchange of electrons between different, these. So essentially, these radicals are saying to kill them, so they will actually neutralizing. They will take electrons, right? So other things, radicals will start playing. So what happens is, how we tackle is, we take a lot of antioxidant foods, like foods high in polyphenols, fruits, and nuts and seeds, all these, or strawberries and cherries and all these things have very high in antioxidants. So what it does, it actually suppresses your oxidative stress, right? So now people who have been taking a lot of protein diet or ketosis or all these diets, right, their body is already going under circulatory inflammation, right? Because they don't know, they think, okay, these signals are fine, I'm having protein, thoda zyada ho gaya, bloating, constipation, abdominal pain ho gaya, yaar sar dard ho raha hai, theek hai, but theek hai, normal hai, it's not that worry something, because my blood works as normal, I don't have an issue, right? क्योंकि range इतनी बड़ी होती है, so you can't determine whether it is abnormal or normal. So when you have inflammation and when you have oxidative stress, right? So it actually triggers a lot of things inside your body, and that's why your body cannot handle so much free radicals and toxins, and these actually gets into your. If you have heart disease, it will get into your plaque. It start developing, arteries start developing plaque inside your arteries, right? So, or it will start having constipation issue, it will start having autoimmune disorder, it can lead to hormonal imbalance, a lot of things, right? So when someone loses their life because of it, they'll say, oh, yaar, zyada weight utha liya, or maybe he may be having a heart disease. It is not always about heart disease. It is also about, oxidative stress, right? So again, a lot of people don't know that this oxidative stress also lead to type 2 diabetes. So how many people in the gym, right, after they work out, take antioxidants? Real antioxidants from various foods, right? You don't take, you will take, okay, maine itna kar liya pre-workout meal, let's have a protein shake, or let's have eggs, or let's have chicken, and or maybe some others post-workout supplement, right? Or maybe BCAA and all these pre-workout stuff, all these things. So essentially, it's a mix of inflammation and the oxidative stress which is happening. And so for anyone, they should understand that protein is not for everyone, right? Until unless you are into a business of bodybuilding, this is what I require because I'm getting into competition, or I'm running a gym. I want to show that this is the way I attract my customers. Still, you need to understand how much of protein you are taking, right? How much of fat you are taking, whether it is right for you, how these stuff you are consuming is being metabolized inside your body, what is being produced, right? And the byproduct, what they are doing inside your body, right? So essentially, this is all we need. So that's why we need to really understand. So it's not it's not because of doing heavy workout, or it is not because usko pehle se hoga. It is all because you have been eating wrong stuff maybe from 5-10 years, which is now triggering a lot of inflammation, right?
Yeah.
The funny part is here, sir, that the diseases doesn't develop immediately. So I cannot say I ate rasgulla last night. Oh my God, I have type 2 diabetes today. Doesn't happen like this. So it develop over a period of time, and you don't know what is happening with it.
Yeah. So now coming to the question, that how are we going to address this and help people, particularly from cholesterol angle?
Okay. So what we do is, so we have a lot of customers who are coming from cardiovascular issue, abnormal cholesterol, even if they don't know they don't have. And so what we do is we actually collect their data, right? We actually go for microbiome testing, and we understand the functions of various microbes living in their gut, right? So we convert, and this is something which we are only doing in India right now. Is lot of companies focus on diversity. So what we focus on the functional activity. So we can decode each of these metabolites which I have shared in this call, right? So I can tell you what is the level of TMA, what is the level of LPS, what is your bile acid metabolism, what is your bitrate production, what is your tryptophan metabolism, right? So this is some, and we have such 28 such scores, right? So we can tell you the level of each metabolite, whether it is promoting inflammation or suppressing inflammation. If the activity, for instance, the activity of LPS and TMA is high, right? So probably, there's some foods, not necessarily, animal protein, right, are promoting, or there's some bacteria which are triggering this, right? So a lot of like E. coli or, gamma proteobacteria, which are triggering this, right? So essentially, how do we suppress them? The objective is to suppress their activity, and you improve the activity of bitrate production bacteria. Bacteria is giving you antioxidants, right? Bacteria who are actually suppressing your ghrelin levels, right? So essentially, it is all about understanding the interaction happening inside the body at a molecular level, and then finding out which food I should eat in what quantity right now, which food I should minimize, which food I should avoid. Right. So again, your cholesterol, we can tell you what is your cholesterol metabolism, right? By blending
so those food recommendations then you will provide based on the profile analysis, and and that's the way forward. Any other point which you feel we have missed in today's discussion?
I think we have discussed, right? But the focus, specifically to close this call, the focus has to be that don't get too much on high LDL, bad cholesterol, good cholesterol, right? There are multiple factors at play, so you cannot say that okay, if I'm let's stop eating protein, it will, or stop eating chicken and mutton, it will improve my cholesterol, or start taking statin, it will suppress my cholesterol, right? There are multiple factors at play inside our body, so you can do guesswork, So essentially, you need to understand what is causing, So some indications could be if you have, you can experience people who have a vitamin D deficiency, right? They are a higher risk of developing cardiovascular diseases, right? Because again, if your cholesterol is not put to use for vitamin D production because you don't have the right set of bacteria to absorb or to produce vitamin D, right? So essentially, your cholesterol level would be high. Right? So
Right.
it's all about input versus output. It's all about balance, right? And the funny part is these all things, if you see, there are a lot of research around it on the cholesterol metabolism front. It is already available, right? So I don't know why doctors are avoiding it, or probably they are not recommending it, because I've seen people say, oh, my LDL is high, because when I had, if you say 7 years back, I had fatty liver stage 3, right? And I was told, oh, your LDL is bad. So that time, I did some interventions in my diet. I improved it, and it was because of sugar, right? So it is not about fat. It is about, sugary stuff, because it also triggers LPS, right? So the mechanism, we have to understand the mechanism behind it, rather than, just jumping onto the conclusion that, okay, my blood sugar says this is high, so or my LDL is high, so let's change this, So that's my suggestion is, don't get into guesswork, get into the evidence, what is causing it.
Yeah. So current medical practice, and this is something which I also follow very, very closely, is, very symptomatic based, and, straight away jump to, a statin or something, rather than balancing and correcting it back, and this is where I think you are doing wonderful job, Sushant. And I'm sure, today's discussion, you have shed a lot of light on whole cholesterol metabolic pathways, good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, what is myth, what is right. We also talked about supplement. We also did touch base on, vitamin D, and, conversion from LDL to HDL. So thing is, we can actually set it right if we go about the holistic approach, which is based on, yes, blood work, a report, on blood, all the parameters, but at the same time also looking at a microbial analysis in the gut, and, how the whole profile looks there, testing that, and then based on all this, have right kind of recommendation on nutrition, on food, on exercise. And I think that's a really good discussion we had. And I love this biology, and we can go on and on this particular discussion, but just for the benefit of audience and time, I think we will wrap it up today. But we are going to come back with another important issue like this. So thank you very much, Sushant. Let's keep up good work going for all of us. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Yeah.